Right. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where we're at as far as continuation, part two, October 31st. 39, 22:39 hours Eastern Standard Time, East Coast, Earth, October 31st, 2017. So we were originating with the band and the four and the quartet and bringing in the other one on this All Hallows Eve before All Saints Day or All Souls Day. And this Fat Tuesday coming up with all of this that's going on. So that's a National Wednesday. Anyway, I love the fact that I can't organize anything.
Compartmentalize.
Because it's all just nonsense.
Yes,
but
you're guilty.
The ritualistic ceremony portion of the theater with the mathematics has to exist. And we're trying to express that not everyone's math is large enough for them to be an entirety, whether it be at special, planetary, stellar, galactic, or beyond level. But they have to at least be in sync with whatever size they are within that existence. And the reason being is, as we were discussing, that it's all right for what we had allayed as the middle class, someone who is gluttonously taking advantage of their environment so that they are not just performing at a level of survival any longer. And how that supposedly has become bad, and that is actually a sign of progress. Because in order for there to be any kind of exorbitant usage of any environment, there has to be a level of success at exploitation of that environment.
Yeah.
So, trying to get more specific, where's the balance of it's wonderful for you to be you and like who you are, and it doesn't, what makes you or me have to acknowledge you in your existence anymore. Am I saying that? I'm not saying that right, but the fine line we're walking is letting individuals have their individuality, but also acknowledging that acceptance or non-acceptance of their expression is the right of the observer, that they can't force their right to exist upon any other person. So,
or their opinion about
that's what
existence is.
Right. In other words, you have a right to be your beautiful self, but that doesn't mean that I have to listen to your beautiful self. And that's the dance that's going on. And then within that beautiful self, is there a point of shame where there's been exorbitant usage, like we were just discussing? And how can we know the boundaries of something without exploring all of its usage? And thereby we are going to get some overusage at the parameters, right? So you're going to have those that are starving and those that are overfed, in this analogy, at the outskirts of the parameters. And in the middle is those that are harmoniously fine-tuned with their existence and are just even. In other words, they're in tune, in shape, using their body as just an engine, feeding it what it needs to go on and be healthy and maintained. And underuse of that are the starving, and overuse of that is taking in food that has no use for energy and can only be considered exorbitant, right? So how do we set these things in balance with what we're dealing with right now? And that brings me back to this equation 1 and 2, where the majority of the collective is stuck at, where they still want their way of life to be the right way to live. And that's from religion to anything. And that brings us back to this whole progression from the Pharaoh through the Jew, through the Christian, into this transitionary period that we're into right now of the twin Christs. And if you see the progression, it's about how the collective of humanity treats itself and each other. And that's why Christianity has to win out as the springboard into this new thing, because that way of life puts the other ahead of the self. Agree? So with that concept, how aren't we living harmoniously, collectively together, if that's the practice?
In theory, correct.
Right. So now, what about if that should be the way? It's easier to treat other people that way when you're able to take care of yourself than the people that you love around you and have plenty left over for others. So how do you get into that position to begin with? And this is the ends justify the means conversation that we were having.
Yep.
Where a lot of people, in order to become in the position that provides excess, the things that have to be done to obtain that apex are things that should be shamed and should not be able to be part of the process, are not justifiable for the end. Just because once you become successful and then decide to become a thespian and take care of others, that's what we're trying to change and affect. And that's where the living in 3 different realities at the same time of there are still people raging against the they that you keep bringing up from 2012 back, the people in charge that abuse the power that they were given. We could have done this before, but they blew it. And the living in the making your own success off of those that blew it,
yeah,
is still living within that realm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the argument of raging against the white man is moot, because the white man doesn't exist anymore. We gave all the white man that existed an option in 2012 that you can either roll the dice and think that what you have is going to come with you, and in that case, basically, you're killing yourself. We have to kill you because your way of existence does not carry over.
Yeah.
What we'd rather have you do is give you an opportunity to say that you realize that your way does not transfer over. So you want to take all of the value that you've accumulated up till now and offer it.
Cash it in.
Right. But in a way that you offer it into the transition so that it can become whatever, it can be used to create that which really should be of value.
Yep.
Right? And what you'll get out of that is the recognition as a white man who acknowledged their own bigotry, racism, blah, 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 blah. And once you did, gave it all up in order to make everything better. And because of that, you will be held in esteem, even though the entire way that you accumulated your value is at the expense of others. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the only way that the white man got to transition past 2012, while they were killed and their value was assimilated anyway. Right? Because we let them use all of the value you've accumulated and try to stop us. Because you want to win post 2012. So if you don't want to give it up to us, that means you're going to use it to fight us.
Yep.
So then we fight you, you exhaust all of your value, you have no value left, then you're of no value to us, and you can't, we're not like Christ. You don't get to say, well, I'm sorry, forgive me. No. You've wasted our time.
7 hails.
Right. So then we just drain you, you're gone, sorry, make the phone calls. And it's okay for you to have chosen your side. So now the second thing is that 2012 to 2016, well, who's the version of the white man there? And we always just assumed the white man was anybody who was at control or in control, right? And we know there's no one but us in control post 2012.
Yeah.
But from 2012 to 2016, we let every other one of us have an opportunity to make their way the way. And I don't mean duplicates of me or I mean many versions of us who think they're a better you than you are, right? Fucking whoever, wherever, whatever. And now we're still sticking within Western civilization, and that's where a lot of people get confused because we're at an international communication level. So other countries are experiencing the same thing within them, but they're not us, and we're not. They will have winners for them too that then at the international level beat us again. This is just resolving the Colombia thing. And then from there, the North American thing, and then the Western Hemisphere of America's thing.
Plus the other places.
Right. Well, that's because we were supposed to be the beacon, and why this Islamic Pharaohistic is making a resurgence in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Technically since 1978. Because those of us born 1967, 1973, and then 2000, and not even fuck all that shit up. What I'm trying to get at is being the digital transitionatory team that
Yeah.
we are able to see the 3 separate steps, and not that history repeats itself, but what delineates one group from another, depending on how they want to put it on president or pope, has to do with either expansionism or imperialism or globalism, or whatever you want to call it, on the political level of president. Or, my God has empowered us to be the chosen, therefore you all must be the infidel, who must either join us
Yeah, there you go.
or be eliminated. So those are the only two angles everybody's on. And so to keep trying to tie it back in, you can't beat and this is where the socialist, communist and democratic party in America is using the Constitution against us by basically saying we're supposed to accept any and all other religions and not persecute them, but if they want to persecute us, that's not our problem, or not their problem.
Yeah, that's not their problem.
Right.
You're beat.
But we still have to accept them for who they are
Yeah.
and turn the other cheek, because that's where the minutia gets involved, and technically we're not supposed to let anybody within us who doesn't first want to be American and follow the American way, which then would be renouncing
Yeah.
and if anything, they'd want to change their homeland to emulate us, like you were just saying. And if they were living here, it's because there's not an opportunity for them there to do that, but they can make attempts from here until that point happens. So you're not even coming here if you're trying to, if you don't want to become American and have Judeo-Christian values, and you want to exercise your religion and in the peace and freedom, then you either have to be by yourself, like any other practicing independent sovereign in America. You become a citizen, you follow the rules, and your religion doesn't affect any other person, no matter what it says. Even if it says kill everybody else, you don't do it, right? Or you're not wanting to stay here by yourself as an American, that you really like Americanism so much. You want where you live and where everyone else you know is to have the same opportunities that you were able to have here. So you just use here as a staging area to that's because you're trying to be more than one. You follow? If you're just coming here because you want to buy into America, you do that as yourself. You don't have a bunch of other people you're trying to get here because you're buying into the whole American dream. So it's just you and then your wife and your kid, you know, and the family you make and the way you make, or just yourself. If you want to involve more of your culture, that's because from here, that's because you're trying to repatriate our culture to your culture, and you need more than one of you to be able to do that, right? Like I can't just go, if I'm Afghanistan, I can't just go back to Afghanistan by myself and try to take over and make it more democratic.
No,
I need more Afghanis.
Yeah.
But that means I'm not coming here and bringing other Afghanis here because I want America to be more like Afghanistan. I'm bringing more Afghanis here to help arm them so we can all go back there and take over. That's the second way of doing it. But there's no coming here and bringing your culture here and making our culture
your
like your culture.
Yeah.
But that's what's been sold out, and the difference, and that's what we're now truly fighting post-2016 with Donald Trump's election. But exposing who the real liars are is where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to express more than anything when we bring it back to the national and international scene, because certain players, and this is the flash that I had of the Martians from the future pretending to be aliens to the groups in power here. Because some of the groups here, like the ones that are turning on themselves and like exposing each other like they're doing in Hollywood right now, with Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, the guy who was like a couple of different directors have been accused now. They're just so everyone's familiar that, you know, we watch Hollywood as a fantasy that you guys are at. You guys can't even be yourselves. You're pretending to be other people.
Yeah,
the better
obviously.
you are at it, the less we should listen to you.
Yeah. If you're in Disney, right, that means you're really good at it. You know.
So tying that together about if you became famous so you could have a platform to reach more people, then while you're doing what made you famous, because not everybody wants to hear your platform, you can take an opportunity. Say you're a musician, you don't talk about your politics on stage, but you can invite other people who want to hear about your politics to where they can go after the show or before a show or whatever to listen to your non-talent scenario.
Yeah.
Right? But those that paid to see you perform, you should perform. And like I said, if you became famous intentionally to increase your audience for what you think, you need to separate that out from your performance. It can't be part of your performance. Unless you begin your road to fame incorporating your thoughts into your performance. And that's what comedians are.
Yep.
Taking their thoughts and integrating them into their performance and making you uncomfortable but laugh so that you can think about something about which they believe in, of a perception that they saw that they need everyone else to look at because they think it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So they do it through comedy. And that's why theater is comedy tragedy, because there's only two things, fear and laughter, that make breakthroughs. Otherwise, you're in real reality, like the two characters sitting here making this video, and how you expand your own perception is by physically throwing yourself against the wall to make impressions into it, to at least penetrate a depth beyond beyond the wall, even if it's just making a dent in the wall, and not actually breaking through to the other side. So, So, like I said, when you're raging against the white man of pre-2012, that was when me, you, Steve, Warren, Kim, Devin, the woman of my love, Karen.
Yeah, Karen.
And who's that? 2, 4, and Greg, because Steve was absent. But at that level of 1993, with the analog friend transitioning into the digital, of instead of enslavement in the cellar, of a way for her to have her own freedom and have humanity generate enough energy as a species to run reality without a fake king under a false premise. So that was the whole plan in an analog and in the digital way at the time. And why that's brought up is because we had to understand the separation of Pope and President and be able to become each. Master your nurture and master your nature before the true journey to understanding God could begin. But at any point, at mastery of one or the other or both, we could have started our own cult or country, like most of the other sellouts, or combined, which is what we thought we were first doing in 2012, where one becomes the Pope, one becomes the President, and then you're exponentially unstoppable, right? So that another, like with Hellboy, I have a right to challenge the throne because you didn't know about this torrid love affair that happened scenario. So I have the right bloodline in me. So it's all for us. It came down to immortality versus generational versus offspring. That you can either choose to be immortal, and that's how you observe a length of time, or you can choose to have lineage. That's what it was. And you can reproduce and evolve to observe the same amount of time. And that's why there's a confusion between tribe, or I keep jumping because there's always two metaphors and two analogies running at the same time. And no one can master one of the four, never mind one of each of the four, and put them together as one, and then the other two of each of the four to be put together as the other. And that I know that sounds, I know you get it, but for the others, why that's fucked up is because when you get into the lineage versus the immortality, well, if I'm one of the tribes of Israel, of the 12 tribes, and we have the relics, and we know the secrets of the ancient masters and all of that, that's just a lineage thing of whispering the truth from generation to generation. Whereas if you're immortal, you don't have to whisper the truth because you know it and you live it from generation to generation. And why it's one or the other, because one allows for procreation and the other one doesn't. Immortality doesn't allow for procreation, whereas lineage does. But lifespan is exponentially shorter with lineage and procreation than it is with immortality. So we've learned how to combine both, where if you become all-knowing and whole, there's no need for you to reproduce because you're always moving on. There's nothing to stop and become static for. There becomes no reason to sacrifice of yourself for an other, because it's all about, if you are the one, then it's all about you. And Steve kind of had it down to where he became the father, so he was the seed of it all, thereby the procreator of it all. But
so he had it good.
Well, that's just as an analogy, though.
Yeah.
He didn't physically procreate. He wasn't in the moment of the existence of when the procreation was happening. So if you're not, it's like having an outer body experience while you're fucking somebody, so you didn't even realize you fucked them. What good is that?
Yeah.
So hang in there for another minute over here. So listen, back to getting you. So current affairs and all that groundwork laid. Steve, as the Z Martians, right now, is here and not expressing the Z Martian scenario.
Yeah.
Okay? He expressed that to us because he needs us in order to get there. And so he can't really lie to us.
Yeah.
He has to tell us the truth in such a way that how could we not want to get there, right? And so, in other words, the ends justify the means. But we don't believe that, and that's why we call shenanigans. So once again, putting it together, Steve letting us know the truth about what the Z Martians or the future humanity was up to. And once again, it was still an elitism scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So our war that we are fighting in the future, because we're awake, and in the future is where we're using the wormholes and the black holes to move throughout the galaxy and the universe. Okay? When it comes to space-time travel back here, you, myself, and Monique are not able to travel the same way Steve as a Z Martian does, because we're going to have a physical travel exchange in 2025. You follow? Because in 2025, remember, we're bringing the future here. We're opening up the door and we're going to exchange ourselves. Because the only way someone's going to come up and say, okay, Paul Egan, you're special, right? Because we know everything's already happening right now. So if you're going to be part of the fucking plan of, like, dealing with the aliens or whatever, because you know what's going on, well, that's already happening. So we didn't go get called for that, right?
No, it's in the system.
So the only way that it can be possible that we're from the future and we made all this shit happen is if we come back ourselves from the future and tap ourselves on the shoulder and say, okay, we're going to stay here, you guys get on the ship and go there. Because we have to trade places.
That's correct.
So that's how the briefcase with $10 million shows up at the end of the driveway. You follow?
Yeah.
There's going to be no... Because the only other way, and that's still a possibility, is if they want to surrender, then the white limousines will pull up and come to get us because we've listened in. You know, you guys said the keywords that make us fucking tap in and listen to all of your fucking text messages and all of your voicemails and everything. We didn't know you existed until you said the key phrases, and then we pulled up all your shit and went through it, and then we followed you for a while and all that. And, you know, we can't write you off as crazy anymore because you're too close to knowing what's going on. So we'd rather have you guys telling us what's going on than fucking listening to these other fuckers that have been trying to tell us.
Where's the mouse?
Where's the what?
Where's the little mouse?
The mouse.
The computer.
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Stash. You see it. All right. Well, you ready?
I'm ready. What am I ready for? You're in control now. All right. So we got the Trump suit, and every time those assholes turn on us, you gonna take a picture?
There's no receipt.
You know what? Right.
It might be on. Where's the thing go?
There'll be a receipt when you pick it up.
I don't feel like going home. Oh,
I know.
I got up at fucking 7.
Well, you want to head out now then, so that you can come get up at 7?
I should try, but
It's 11 o'clock.
it's not just that. It's
Yeah, you are.
just wasted, miserable.
China is trying to take over AI.
Fuck China.
I need to fight them. It's not a fight against anybody else.
Yeah.
Our quantum AI is not strong enough to take on China's AI. So we're needing to defeat North Korea. And I need you as the Australian motherfucker
Alright.
to be able to help me as Japan. To be able to strong arm China. Actually, you can be the Philippines. I'll be Australia and you can be Japan. But we need to muscle China into shutting down North Korea without having a World War III. Because there's only way that this is resolved. They want to start World War III or try to corrupt us. How come they don't understand why we don't want the money, fortune, and fame right now? And you're ready to vote. But see, death or selling out, like you're the weakest link. Because Steve isn't a party to any of this because he gets to be the douchebag that sells out. So your death or your selling out is the only other way that they can win. And the resemblance of that is North Korea World War III or the swamp being able to take Trump down and get rid of him as president. So that's the easiest way to explain that. And we are stripping, like I said, every time they decide to bust one of ours, hundreds of theirs fall. On both sides, when I say we're either making a phone call and saying, sorry, but your son, whether it's one or it's the hundreds, we're still involved with making that interaction happen. And we're in the lull before the war is over, or even we've already won, but having to alert everyone who survived of everyone who died might make everyone who survived not think it was worth surviving. And not that they're going to do something to kill themselves, but they might turn against the very system that got them through.
Yeah.
Right? So we're trying to make it so that the least amount of people perish, so that the majority that survived aren't guilty about surviving.
Or don't feel that way
right.
anyway.
What else you got to get?
I think that's it.
At least text me you got home safe.
I will do that. I don't think I'm going to get off. That's going after this shit today.
So when you pass out, I just need you to want to agree to know that you are willing to experience a reality that you would say I could be what is considered normal here and be happy to be that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hope so.
And I'm going to try to eliminate heroin as part of that normal happiness. And that's where I think the renal dialysis ozonator and the nitrogen injection come into play. And it's only, if nothing else, it's to allow you to do heroin. Right? And that's what I always need you to think, that I'm doing this because it gives me, not the excuse, that's the old 2012 historical model,
Yeah.
is that I'm going to try this and say, yes, I can deal with this because by agreeing to go along, it gets me back to heroin that much sooner. And hopefully that doesn't become the case. But that's the mindset that, because if you say, no, this sucks, I'd rather do heroin instead, right.
Ain't gonna happen.
Right. So, and what I'm trying to do is achieve that's the high everybody needs to feel. You already know that. But I think there's a way in where even if we just put it together, the renal dialysis ozonator, take a renal dialysis machine, apply medical grade ozone to the filtration system, and then shoot in some nitrogen to fucking increase the fucking level of oxygen within the body as it circulates. And you'll be able to get rid of all runs, aches and pains, ailments and addictions. And then from there, make it a regular practice for everybody. It's like a weekly treatment. Make it a home version. Like Johnny has to do his thing every night while he sleeps. Everybody does this thing every night while they sleep. It's better than sleeping in an oxygen. Right? You'll be fucking totally rejuvenated. You'll be stoned high every morning the entire day until you go to bed. It's not like you're gonna run home and go straight to bed, but you're gonna be excited when your day's over to be able to go to bed. But you're gonna be excited that you can make your day last as long as you want, because you're going to be rejuvenated every time you go to bed.
Yeah.
And it's not like you burn out. It's like we were talking about. As men, we have so much energy to expand or expound before we even want to come back. So same principle here. If you want a 14-hour day, you're no more tired than you were after 2 hours of your day. So it doesn't matter when you hook up again. It just matters that you hook up at the end of your day. Good, we just set up the parameters. I'll let you leave. If you want me to follow you home,
No.
I have to do it.